Good morning, everyone. Happy December 15th. My name is Anne Logan, and this is the I'veReadThis.com YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about my favorites so far from the short story advent calendar. Typically, in the past, I've done a single video every day until December 25th for every story, but I just do not have time for that this year, which is why I'm doing a summary today. So thank you for tuning in. This is what the calendar looks like this year. It's very pretty. We've got that nice silver foil detailing. It actually came with the silver band around it that I've recycled. And you could choose which color you wanted as your advent calendar this year. I chose cobalt blue. And there's also a special edition calendar that you could pay a little bit extra for, but I just went with the basic version and I'm really happy with it. I think it's really pretty. So I've highlighted a few stories that I want to talk about today that have been my favorites. There's been a bunch that I haven't really liked, so I'm just not going to talk about them. You can go to my Twitter channel if you're interested in seeing my day-by-day kind of mini reviews. My Twitter handle's at I'veReadThisBlog. So the first story I really enjoyed, Beginners by Shelley Oria. So this one is basically about a woman who is embarking on an affair with another man. And it's a very meta kind of story because there's comments from an editor inserted into the story as you're reading it. So you're not sure if this is kind of her recounting of an affair that she's had, or if it's totally made up and she's a writer herself. It's just a kind of a quirky little take on a very common story, I suppose, and it was just really interesting and well written. Day number 3 was another favorite of mine. Save a Lot by Anthony Doerr. This is probably one of my favorites so far. I actually read it in the mall food court and I came so close to crying, like I could feel my eyes tearing up because it is such a beautiful story. It's about a young woman who comes from a very poor family with, parents who are addicted to various things, and she pulls herself out by her bootstraps and gets a job and lives a simple, happy life. She ends up getting into a relationship and the man gets her pregnant and then leaves. So she becomes a single mother. But again, she's, the type of person who lives her life on the straight and narrow. So she is a wonderful mother. She's a nurse. And one day she ends up hurting her back at work and she eventually becomes addicted to painkillers after her back surgery. And it's basically the story of the decline of her life and her daughter's life, and how a kind of stranger enters their life and turns it around for the better, hopefully. I seem to recall there not being a definitive ending, but a suggestion of hope nonetheless. This is just such a beautiful story and so timely right now, with the opioid crisis just growing and growing. I really value reading stories like this that show us how, regular everyday people can become addicted to these things and how it can just destroy once very promising lives. So, great story that will help build your empathetic bone and muscle, which I feel like we all really need, especially this time of year. Highly recommended. And Anthony Doerr, he's a well-known name. I think he won the Pulitzer Prize, so he's an amazing writer. Day number 6 was Hazel and Christopher by Casey Plett. Casey Plett is a Canadian writer. She's a transgendered writer. I used to work with her when she was a publicist at Biblioasis, which is a small press here in in Canada. And her book, Little Fish, just became hugely popular and she's skyrocketing into writerly fame. And I'm just so proud to call her Canadian and she's just a wonderful person, and I'm just so happy that she's experiencing the success that she is. So I was really excited to see a story by her in this advent calendar. It's a story of a transgendered couple, probably one of the longer ones. How many pages was it? 25 pages. Really interesting, well written, and it's from a perspective that we don't get to see much of these days. Although that's changing, thankfully, but I really liked this story. So Casey Platt, keep your eye out for that name, because you're going to be hearing more of it for sure. Day number 7 was another favorite of mine, An Errand in the Country by Olga Grushin. I really liked this story because there's a depiction of you know, God and kind of how we imagine him, and it's just a kind of a quirky, like heartwarming story, very light. And again, it kind of has this Christmassy, it wasn't a Christmas story, but it had this Christmas spirit to it, which I really enjoyed. So that was a fun read. And then lastly, number 9, The Snowman by A.B. Cooper. So A.B. Cooper is dead now. It said in the back that this story was originally published in 1902. And the story takes place in the Christmas of 1890 something. It's really fun. It's like this old-fashioned caper. It's about a thief who's trying to rob people on Christmas Eve, and he hides like in the snow of a snowman form. It's just really fun, lighthearted again, and just like the perfect Christmassy story. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. So today's December 15th, days 10 to 15. I wasn't a huge fan of, they're not good enough for me to mention on this video. So hopefully there's going to be another streak of good stories that I can bring up at my next summary video like this. I just wanted to talk briefly about the chocolate advent calendar that I'm using this year, because if you've seen my older videos in December, I always pair my short story advent calendar with a chocolate advent calendar. And I've of course done that again this year. So this year I have the Cadbury Dairy Milk calendar, and this is the cheapest one I've gotten so far. I literally just picked this up at my local grocery store. It was under $20, and I am the happiest with this as I have been in years. You know, in the past I've like ordered them online, or I've gone to like specialty chocolate stores and paid probably way too much. Totally not needed. This is the best chocolate advent calendar I've ever had. All the chocolates are the same. They're like these milk chocolate with this kind of white, you know, sort of creamy filling. Yum, yum, yummy. And the chocolates are a really good size too. They're not like those tiny chocolate wafer thin ones that like the really cheap advent calendars have. But these are like they're sizable. And so I feel, I don't know. I feel like it's worth the little that I paid for it, that's for sure. And just, yeah, highly recommended. Cadbury Dairy Milk, there you go. Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. I'm really sorry I do not have time to do the everyday videos. Big shout out to Melanie from Grab the Lapels. I know that you've been waiting for me to make one of these videos, and I do really appreciate you following along so closely. So this video is for you, specifically Melanie. But thank you to everyone who tunes in and watches these. I know I post them really sporadically and it's hard to keep track. And another shout out to Laura, because I'll have links to Melanie and Laura's blogs below. Laura's up in Edmonton and she's doing the short story advent calendar as well, and we both agreed that neither of us have time to do daily videos. She's got 2 kids too, so she knows the struggle. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and hopefully I will talk to you again before December 25th. If not, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and thanks again for tuning in. Bye!